Hi guys, and welcome back to another one of my Python for Beginners videos. So in this video, I'm going to be looking at functions and generators. Um, so find out what they are, how they're used, and just giving you a use case for both of them. So in the last video, I went through statements, and I will be using those in this video. So if you haven't watched that, um, I'm going to leave a card in the top right corner for you to click on that will link you there. Um, or if you want, you can just go to my channel and find a playlist, this whole playlist, and watch it from the beginning. Um, right at the end, there will be a link to this playlist so you can watch from the beginning if you want. Like I said, this is the first video you've seen. That being said, let's hop into today's content um, and let's learn about functions and generators. Right, so guys, I'm in the Python IDLE right now. Um, so what I've done is I've just opened a new file, saved it inside of a folder somewhere, um, and that's all I need to be able to start making the program. So, what is a function? A function is just code that you can ask the program to run for you. Okay, so an example of that is actually just the print, the print function. Okay? This is a function that's built into Python, but it is itself a function. Okay, so rather than you having to type out the code that writes to the the standard output manually, um, using really fancy code, which is possible. Python has just created a function to do it for you. Okay, so how am I thought the best way to show you how to create a function and what their kind of use cases are um, is something to provide. It is about getting personal information about someone. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function to get personal details and also to validate the information they're giving us. Okay. So, what kind of data do you get from a user or about a person, right? You're going to want their name, you're going to want their age, and you may want their height. Okay? So, you could just say, here's the input of what is your name. This is going to be an integer input of how old are you. And we're going to want a floating point input of what is your height in meters. Now this code does work, right? And it does what you need to do. You could use this data in whatever way you wanted, right? But what if you want to do this multiple times? Okay, so say you wanted to get information about loads of different people or information at different points in the program, but you always want it to be the same data. Well, doing it just like this, raw in your code, not inside of a function, would mean you have to type all this out again, or at least at a minimum, copy and paste it. But what if you wanted to get other information, not just this, right? Well, then you'd have to edit it at all them points and remember where you did it. So this is the usefulness of functions. What you can do is you can just define a function, um, which is just a name that you can give data, and it will do stuff for you and output. Right. So the way you do this is you define a name, right? So you could say get personal lowercase g, and you could just have no information. So you could say get personal data, and then you could copy all this in, right? Copy that, I didn't want to run it. Tap that across, tap that across. So what I've done now is I've said, if you use this name, an open close bracket or parentheses around it, do this code. Okay, so the general formula, if you will, for defining a function is this def keyword, the name that you want to give it, and then inside of some brackets, you give the data, or you give names to the data you want this function to get given. Right? They're called parameters. In this case, I don't need any data because all I'm doing is I'm getting a specific set of data and outputting that. Okay. Um, so I've got the data. Okay, and then to um, ask for that data, I just say get personal data. Open close brackets. Bam. That's it. Right. And now this will work. But one thing that we're going to want to do is we're actually going to want to save personal data. You say personal data equals that. Now currently, this isn't actually outputting any data, right? So this will save it as none, right? None being like the default no data. It's like it literally is what it is. It is nothing. It is just a placeholder for a value that doesn't exist, right? So what you can then do is you can just say, if I close these brackets properly, there we go. You could then return a list containing the name, the age, and the height. Sweet. And now this will be a list containing the name, age, and height at all times. Because we've used this function to do that. So now let's run this. Um, so my name is Brad, 20 years old, and I'm 1.8 meters tall. Cool. You can also, put a print function in here or outside of here. So you can just say print name is name. Um, age is the age, and um, height uh, is the second thing in this list. And let's just use the format personal data 0, personal data 1, personal data 2. Okay. So if I run this again, Brad 20 1.8. Okay, let's add a name in. I'm not sure if you could just pass in personal data. I don't think you can. No, you can't. Right? Because what it will do is it will say, "Oh, get the thing at the 0 index." That is a list, right? So one way you could shorten that, um, what I had before, is you can do this. You could say that, okay, and this just unpacks the data from the list. It basically just pulls out all the information from the list and lays it out as in this case, you know, val 1, val 2, you know, val 3, unnamed, but it's just pulled all the data out of it, which is quite nice. In some cases, like in this case, it's ideal, right? Because you have a list and you just want to pull each thing one at a time from that order in the list. This isn't the best practice to do. You do your best just to say, I want this from this index. But in this case, it works. I'll just leave it there. one issue with what I've got is, what's your name? So Brad. Now let's say I'm 20 and a half years old, right? So I'm halfway between 20 and 21. Oh no, we've got an issue, right? So we've got this error. Now what you could do is you could do some fancy code to fix it inside of this function, okay? But quite often you're gonna quite often run into the issue where someone has put the wrong data into here, and you have to do the same fancy code over and over and over and over and over. No, no one's got time for that, right? So what you do is you just create another function. Get integer input, give us a prompt, or don't, which is that equals blank or equals empty string, because that just sets like a default value to prompt, and then you could just say return, or then you could try to return an input, an integer input using the prompt. Okay, so it will try to do this, right? Where this is the prompt, this string here. But if you catch any if there's any errors, right? So except in the case where you have errors, you may want to print, sorry, but the data that was entered wasn't added. Please try again. And then you want to return get input or get int input passing in the prompt. Okay, so this may look fancy, but really it's just using what I've already shown you. Okay, but it's kind of taking it a step further. It's using all these ideas together. Okay, so what this is doing is it's saying try to return, so try to output from this function um, the int value of the input giving the prompt. Okay, so it's saying do this or try to do this. Okay, except in the case where you have an error, say sorry, I output this text, right, but to the screen, and then try to return the output from the same function, passing in the same message. And it will carry on doing this again and again and again, right, until it gets a valid response. In which case, even if you've done this 100 times, this line here, it will return this, it will return that, and then it will do it again. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and also do it for the um, float input. So get float input, return float input, and get float input. So now what this means is I can actually just replace the function that I'm using here. Rather than saying int input, we can say get int input and get float input. Now it'll do the same thing, except this time it will make sure I'm giving it the right data. Alright then. So now if I was to run this and enter in invalid data, I'm sorry, but that wasn't valid. Please try again. Okay. Oh, sweet. Now it works. Wonderful. So that is how you create functions, right? And that's all just to show you how you call them. So the way you call them is, well, the way that you say do this is you literally just use the name followed by an open bracket, whatever data you're going to give it, close bracket, right? And you could pass in loads of different kinds of data. You could ask for prompts, what you want to happen at the new line, what you want your error message to be, etc. But in this case, we just want to do this, right? Um, Now this is all fine and dandy doing this. Right? This also works. But say you wanted to get other kind of data in. So say I wanted to add in a description. I say description equals input. How would you describe yourself? And then cool, we've got that, right? So and then if we were to run this in, say description, and we just want that to be the third, or technically the fourth, but the third index value. Run this. So what's your name? Brad. 20, 1.8. I am. How do I describe myself? YouTuber? Question mark? Ah, there's an issue. But I thought we got this for a bit of data. We did. But we never actually added it into here, right? So even though this is a really simple function, adding that in, you're not going to forget to do that. But if you've got a massive code base, what you're going to want to do is you're not going to want, like, say you've got loads of code here, you want to add loads more data, but you also want to output everything, or you want to output various things. What you can do is you can use a thing called a generator, right? So a generator is kind of like a function, except rather than returning a single value at a single point, what you can instead do is you can yield results, right? And then this is quite often something you want to do if you're, say you want to output the result of a sequence. Right? You don't want to have to keep on adding values to a list. Um, Instead, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to yield results. Okay, so you're just going to want to return a whole list of things um, and then output it. Right. So you could yield, 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 bam, you're done. Right. So personal data equals get personal data. Fantastic. Right. So now if we was to run this, Brad 20, 1.8 and YouTuber. Cool. Name is Brad. Age is 20. Height is 1.8. Description YouTuber. Perfect. So now what we've done is we've turned this function, so we took this simple process where we got all these manually, one at a time. We outputted it. Cool, right? That's dandy. Okay, but what we haven't done, and then what we did was we turned it into a function that you can call at any other time. Right? So say you wanted to get loads of people's personal data, you can now do that. But then we was running into the issue where we was getting into we was getting invalid inputs and it was breaking the system. So we created some new functions to deal with that, right? Because these are things we're going to want to do maybe at multiple points in the program. Cool. But then we thought, oh, let's add data, but we forgot to return it, but was expecting it. So I changed this into a generator where I yield results rather than return them. Okay. So in this case, you wouldn't really want to use a generator. Um, in a case like this, you'd want to use object-oriented programming, which is going to be in my next video. Okay, what that allows you to do is it allows you to just contain data and do things at certain times. Yeah, it's just a smarter way of storing extremely linked data. Okay, that and also knowing that that data is going to be there. Um, So yeah, that's all I've got time for today in this video, and that covers just about everything you need to know, or certainly the basics um, of what you need to know for functions and generators. Um, these are a lot more powerful than they look here, but it's more just a brief overview of what they are, how you make them, and how you use them. Um, like I said, you could do a lot more with this. You could loop through this result. But you don't even need to store this. You could just say that, right? This should work. Brad 20.8 YouTuber or YouTuber question mark. See, and it still works. Okay, which is another benefit of using get personal data or a generator. Right, so that's it for this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and clicking the notification bell icon to keep up to date on my videos. In the next video, I'll be going through object-oriented programming, what that is, how do you do it in Python. Um, so yeah, I'll catch you guys next one. Have a good rest of your day.